actually the World Press Freedom Day is just coordinated by UNESCO, but it's actually luckily enough a day that has lots of ownership from the different players involved with protection of press freedom and freedom of expression.
Indeed, indeed. I was really looking at the program you have developed, and it was quite amazing. You had the Joseph Stiglitz. Why was Stiglitz invited?
Well, the main topic of this year was information as a public good, no? So his works that actually were one of the reasons why he was laureated with the Nobel Economics Prize. It's on information asymmetries and the importance of information for development, etc. Were and are quite important to this overall understanding of information as a public good. So actually, we thought it would be interesting to start the program, the official program, with a dialogue with him, precisely trying to define what is information as a public good. And it was quite interesting dialogue he had with the deputy executive editor for the Economist, the British weekly magazine.
Yes, indeed. You had a number of stars from the international news media that were speaking as well. Can you give us a little bit the flavor of the discussions and what were some of the takeaways?
Sure. So, as I was mentioning, the main topic of the day was this information as a public good. But this was an umbrella topic, which we decided to focus on three main pillars, uh, particularly trying to address the challenges 30 years after the original Windhoek Declaration. So, the original Windhoek Declaration of 1991, which actually kicked off these global celebrations for the World Press Freedom Day, it was that declaration was underlining three main aspects of this idea of press freedom. One is that we need an independent media. Two, that we need a free media. And three, that we need a pluralistic media. So the original Windhoek Declaration was about independence, freedom, and pluralism. So 30 years later, and with the new challenges from the digital environment, such as, for instance, debunking disinformation, etc., we decided that this information as a public good should again concentrate in three main aspects. And those aspects were how we qualify the demand for information, so how we empower the citizens for demanding quality and accurate and reliable information. So this is what we call media and information literacy. So we had several discussions during the World Press Freedom Conference on this issue, how to empower the citizens, so how to qualify the demand, media and information literacy. The other aspect of this is how we qualify the supply for reliable and accurate information. So that means how we empower the news media, the journalists, to do their job in debunking disinformation, in providing accurate and reliable information, and doing their role as watchdogs of the powerful interests, etc. So then we had several discussions about media viability. So how we make the news media viable and sustainable in the long term to keep performing this essential role for democracies. No, so as you probably know, the COVID situation exacerbated an economic crisis towards the news media. So really. Underlining how difficult it is to keep a healthy and viable news media system. But also there are other issues related to the media viability. One of them is safety of journalists, for instance. No? So one of the key aspect of the conference was then this idea of media viability. So we had again several discussion sessions, specific data available about this topic. And the third element, so we need to qualify the demand, we need to qualify the supply, but nowadays we need also to understand the transmission chain of this information. And the transmission chain is very much concentrated in the digital ecosystem. So the internet platforms, the digital internet companies. So the third element of the conference was about internet transparency. What is what we need to emphasize in terms of the transparency of the digital platforms of the internet companies, in order to understand better how to build evidence-based policy regarding countering some of those challenges, such as disinformation or hate speech or conspiracy theories. Many of those complex challenges we are facing.
Also, you have released a report that was focusing on the question of women journalists that are disproportionately affected by online hate speech, violence in social media platforms. Can you tell us a little bit more about the report as well?
Sure. We actually launched two reports that were related to this component of the internet environment. One is an issue brief, particularly focusing on the transparency of the internet companies. So we launched that on May 3rd on a specific panel, a plenary session on this issue, the transparency of the internet companies. And as you just said, we launched another one that is a research on this particular topic of online violence against women journalists. So for this research, we really unfortunately found out very concerning and alarming data regarding the violence against women journalists in the online environment. For instance, we carried out a survey with 900 women journalists from 125 countries, and we found out that 73%, three quarters of the journalists who replied to this survey had suffered some sort of online attacks, three quarters. And among those that suffered online attacks, we had a significant number, 20%, actually the online aggressions, they actually took place also in real life. So the perpetrators of those threats and online attacks, they actually they tried to or they succeed in attacking those journalists offline, out of the online world. So 20% is a huge number. And then we had other concerning statistics from this survey. For instance, an important amount of those journalists they had impacts in their mental health. Another important amount decided to self-censor themselves due to these online attacks. So bottom line, in a nutshell, that we have a huge number of women journalists who suffer these online attacks, and with concrete consequences for them individually, like these mental health issues or those offline attacks. But it's important to underline that it's not only between quotation marks, because it's already too much. It's not only an attack on their individual freedom of expression, it's also an attack on the collective freedom of expression of the entire society. Because when those women journalists decided to self-censor themselves due to these attacks, this is also impacting my freedom of expression, your freedom of expression, the freedom of expression on all the listeners, readers of those women journalists doing serious investigative working, etc. For example, like the UNESCO Guillermo Cano World Press Freedom Prize this year, Maria Ressa, the Filipino investigative journalist, she also was, and unfortunately is, a target of severe and horrific online attacks. And she spoke about that in the opening, in the award ceremony, underlining how difficult it is to face these kind of situations.
Thank you very much. A pleasure speaking with you, Guilherme. Thank you very much. It was a beautiful exposition on what's happening. I'm glad I had the chance to speak with you.
No problem. And please always count on us when needed, because it's our pleasure and duty to further explain what UNESCO is doing to protect and promote freedom of expression. So please, anytime, please count on us.
I will, certainly. Thank you very much. Have a very nice day.